Alrighty, welcome back to another live stream. We're going to try to continue to do these throughout the rest of the bull run. As of now, we're scheduling for Tuesdays and Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern time, roughly. So we'll get right to it. We'll start off with Bitcoin while we get some more people in here. You can watch these back, these live streams. So you might be watching this at a later date. If so, right, you can skip ahead. We'll just take requests from the chat so you can read the chat back and kind of see where we're at and jump around if you need to. We'll start with Bitcoin and my thoughts on that. And, if you want more help with this cycle, follow me on X, or also we have a Patreon group. We have a private group where I do daily updates, kind of keep you on your toes for what's happening in the market, and more educational content, so you can check that out if you want. Alrighty, welcome in. We'll get into the Friday live stream and look at also, what's important for the weekly close. That's why I kind of probably stick to Thursday or Friday. We'll see how we do here. We do obviously more better than we did on Tuesday, then maybe Fridays or maybe even the weekends. Let me know in the comments if you have a request for a coin, or you think you'd rather have see a weekend live stream. I might be able to do occasionally, but for the most part, I think Tuesdays and Fridays kind of fit my schedule best, at least for now. All right, so welcome in. All right, so we'll start off on the weekly chart while we get some more people in here. You can put your requests in, then I'll read the chat back momentarily. So what's going on? Well, Bitcoin backtesting the 21-week EMA, yellow line, right, for the first time really since our entire uptrend started, when everyone was panicking last time about going into a bear market. We noticed last time also that we peaked inside the Gaussian channel here, as you see. If we do that again, I do think there's a high probability of a bear market, and this is why we have a red zone here. So we talk about our different colored zones. So blue skies up here, right? No troubles. Green, we're back to earth. Need to pay attention a little bit more. Yellow is caution, right? If we take out this low at 101, that'd be, we're right there. We're knocking on the door. So let's avoid that at all costs, right? Also, we look at the parabolic SAR. We've officially triggered a downtrend, right? When you see these dots above, that's by definition triggering a downtrend for the first time since back in May. So is that a big deal? Well, obviously, if you make a 15% move down pretty drastically, you're likely to hit these dots because they move up, week over week, just like your moving averages, yeah? Okay, so last time we had a downtrend, was that the end of everything? No, it was kind of similar vibes as we're seeing now. That lasted 8 weeks, right? 8 dots, 8 weeks. So if we did that again, right, just take it out there, right? We're looking at like the end of October. Doesn't necessarily mean prices can't go up until then, right? Look at that move, right? Prices, by the time that triggered, prices had already rallied back to near local highs or all-time highs. We're already up 40% by the time that uptrend triggered. Now, by rule here, the new uptrend triggers above that wick, right? So it's basically 125,000. So if the low is already in fact, right, it would take a 16% move to trigger that new uptrend. Now, we're keeping in mind, this was 40% before that uptrend triggered. So just because we've triggered a downtrend doesn't mean it has to last long, one, and doesn't mean prices can't rise before that triggers, obviously. Now, this will adjust week over week as you see these falling down based on where prices go, right? It's just taking an average. So if we hang around down here, even if we don't fall, right, this will continue to come down just a bit. All right, so that's kind of my general summary. But let's make no mistake, if we get down in this area, right, we're in some trouble. But not until then. Everything's still super fine, terrific as of now. All right, so we do daily Bitcoin updates in our group. We can remove that. Let's get to some requests if we haven't yet. Happy Friday. Appreciate it. Some good comments. We get some good people. We get a couple bad seeds every now and again, but for the most part, y'all are pretty A-okay. So if this is your first time here, right, I do this full time. I've been doing this full time since 2020, and I've been in crypto since 2017. Ethereum was my first major purchase. Bought that down at $125 Christmas Day, 2019. It's done pretty well. Anything else other than that? Like, if you have any questions on anything crypto related, we'll try to stick to that. But if we don't pick up the chat, this will obviously be a shorter stream. But if you have any more requests, like, get them in there. Chartist artist. We need the shirt. Chartist artist. I'm working on shirts still. Okay. I think we had that request last time, but we'll do it because we got nothing else to do. I'll try to remember to drag these up so you can see your coins here. Okay, so we're right here, 320. We'll start off on the weekly, right? You want to see the trend, right? We're looking at, pretty flat trend, maybe slightly down, but for the most part, not really any trend here since start of 2024. Right? You can see this is, pretty well defined. And if you take just a rough average of all of this, I think that gets you almost exactly where we're at. And if you split that price action, it's pretty close. And you can see, the rough average is probably about $400, which is, coincidentally range highs here. You have the Gaussian channel, the median line. The Gaussian channel's red here on the weekly. You're battling the 100, but guess what? That's where you held last time. You always want to be mindful of, macro support levels, where you last held, where you last rejected at. Well, we had a couple. We really have only breached it one time since it's come in back into January of this year. First time we saw it. So 100-week moving average, obviously pretty important. 2-year moving average, right? Wherever your moving averages are, whatever they're doing, that's the obvious trend. And what are they doing? Well, they're all pretty damn flat, right? Gaussian channel's flat, right? That's not rocket science here. But not only are these upper and lower zones kind of confining us, but I would argue now that, like, we're in this, like, mini zone here, right? And we have been for quite a bit of time. So we got to see which one of these breaks. I would look for, obviously, one candle. But I would prefer 2 candles to break. And then, right, where is your next target? It's whatever the zone is. So if we break higher first, you're probably going to see upper 7s, mid to upper 7s. If we close 2 candles down here first, take out this low, close, multiple weeks under the 100, this is the odds, right? There's one touch point, right? 3 weeks there, multiple weeks there, multiple weeks here. Same to the upside. That's just your odds, right? You're no trend. You're like acting like Pong, right? You're just bouncing back and forth. And now we're getting really calm, bouncing back and forth even between this. So for trendless coins like this, now it has always been that, right? We know it can move, right? You want to be in coins that have some power and actually can show up when they need to, right? We know that can do that. So we're actually hoping for a power move here, long consolidation, building a base before, hopefully mimicking something similar to that. So if we go to new highs, like, what's our potential price high target? Well, let's look at the fib extension. That's a little much, but I mean, is it possible? Guess we'll see, right? We know it can move. That's only a 6x from here, from current prices. Potentially. Right, that's that. If we're gonna rhyme with this move, right? Why wouldn't we think that we could continue that? Let's see what that would look like, just in case. We take a bars pattern here. Like, what if it rhymed with this again? Could even if we rhyme with that, could it get there? I mean, hell, oh my gosh, right? Right, that's pretty significant. Now, is it likely to do that again? Probably not. Right, that was 16x, I think we saw. Quite a significant move. That's added, and it did that pretty fast too, right? Less 5 months. 5 months up, up 16x, 17x in 5 months. doubtful because we're right. We've stopped all our momentum, right? Look at these momentum moves, but maybe, right? If we're up there by maybe late October, right? We still have plenty of time. But if we're up in this area, certainly above the 786, above the Gaussian channel, by the time late October rolls around, maybe we got a shot of, breaking out here to maybe we hit 1,000 mark. Still possible there. Okay. Just reading through the comments if I'm quiet here. I know it's kind of weird time. Maybe in over in Europe and other side of the world, it's probably better, but we'll see. I do have like over half of my audience is over abroad and not in America, so I don't know if there's anything to that or Americans just hate me, but we'll keep reading the chat and get through it here. So a lot of weed through all these comments here. Okay, so questions about the bear market. We can get more into that when I think like the bear market is looming or after we know that we're in one. I think you could just speculate for days and hours if on things that haven't happened, right? And until we get there, right? And I started off this video, the stream, like focusing on where we would be, nearing bear market. So for Bitcoin, it's got to be down here, right? Red zone. If we get down there, right, we'll shift the focus there. But to give you the rough Cliffs Notes version, I don't think the bear market is going to be that severe. It might be longer, but it won't be as severe, right? If your bull run is less euphoric, your bear market will be less euphoric for the bears, right? Does that make sense? So because we've had little excitement out of alts and I would say Bitcoin and just reading through social media, right? I think the vibes are, I mean, you probably all are listening to this and underwhelmed with the cycle, right? Underwhelming bull, underwhelming bear. So maybe that's the silver lining here. Like we're not going to go through anything catastrophic. Now, who knows what outside events play? Obviously, if we start firing off nukes and we go to World War, well, then I don't know if we all really care as much about what our favorite, what Fartcoin's doing. But if we're in a global war, we have different issues. But barring anything catastrophic world event again, I think we'll be in for a relatively subtle bear market. And if you nail me down right now, where would I be looking to come back in and the bear market be ending? Well, how is it not somewhere in this area? So even here, from the Pico top, if that was the Pico top, of 40%, it sounds mild, right? And I would give that to you. It does sound pretty mild, but as of right now, if that's it, I think that's about it, right? The 200 week will be right there. Give it 6 months from now. How is the 200 week not like right in here as well? Even if prices move down, this is a slow moving average. So I'm thinking something in that circle. Obviously, we could dip a little bit further, but if we zoom into the monthly, there's a case to be made that that might be slightly different, but always remember, like we didn't have a parabolic blow-off rally yet, right? I still think we have odds of doing at least something like that, right? So keep this in mind. I still think something like this could come over the next 3-4 months and get us, maybe not that high, but I'm still predicting somewhere between 140, 150 minimum before I would get super nervous if we do something like this. But I mean, just copy and paste that last move there, right? We haven't had any big drawdowns. We haven't had a parabolic run, right? That you might say that that's parabolic, but we had our drawdown. We've been much more healthy this time than last time. So we could still have this in here and just kind of sneak up on everybody. So if we're going to look at, potential lows, I find it hard to believe we're going underneath that zone. 60 to 70 as of right now. That's my book. And if we do get down, you know, assuming the top is in, you know, 50% drawdown, 55, more mild this time, right? Even from the low wick to high wick, we went up not a whole lot comparative to last cycle, yeah? Like multiples less. Typical bearers, like, you know, roughly 70. I think we'll do blatantly less than that, if that helps. And I don't think also get hurt quite as much either, because they've already taken a beating in the bull run. Right? Bitcoin dominance, I really don't see it like spiking in a bear market like it did last time. I think everything is kind of globally shifted. I think the old crypto cycles are gone. And we have to throw that out, right? There's too much money here now. Not that there won't be, you know, 10 trillion at some point, but GRT. All right. All right. Well, last time we looked at GRT, it was a red chart. So let's see if it's any better. Remember my color codings. If you've never watched any of my stuff, they're in order. This all of my opinions, obviously, but blue is the best. Green is second best. You can think of it like A, B, C, and D. F is pink. Pink charts. I've kind of did away with most of those. We've still got a couple of red charts here. Clear up the Gaussian channel. We need that. So GRT. Let me just clear off all this. Okay. Obviously not looking great. From the 2021 top, kind of a victim of the timing here, but we're still down 97% from the high wick. Not done a whole lot this bull run. Right, here's the start of the run. So this entire bull run, we were up 50% as of right now. Now, did it do very well? Well, 9x from low to high, that's not too bad. But ever since the March top, like most coins, right, this is not just GRT, but most coins, that was likely the cycle top. Okay, so if that's the case, then where could we look to get back to? Well, we've got to at least overtake, you know, the 0.5 fib, which is also where you tend to gain some more momentum. But not only that, but I would track that 21 EMA on the weekly. Excuse me, we're on the monthly now, but 21 month EMA is also a big one. Let's just pivot over and look at see, make sure this is on the same on the weekly here. Right, so we're still the same checkpoints, but now we have the 100 week right there. So that might be the kind of where we start to lift off. But in the shorter time frame, right, if you're not wanting to wait that long, right, just use that little. That's a pretty good pivot. Let me adjust the scales here. Right, so those two highs are obvious flip point. If you want something before that, even, you know, just the 21 week. Close multiple candles above the 21 week. We haven't done that since last year. Right, we barely did it there, but that wasn't that was a little bit of volatility there. Close two green candles, how about above the 21 week, and then you have your anomaly, right? That's what you're looking for, something to be a shift. Like, look at the last time we closed two green candles above, right? That was pretty good. Same was back here. You start closing above your 21, your yellow line. Look at what that does. You hold it as support, you can continue on. And you start to falter under the 21, the trouble starts. Most people don't get out here because they're like, you just remember this price and you don't realize that this is what's coming next. So remember that as we start to do that, maybe with Bitcoin even, right? We're still holding the line on the 21 week for Bitcoin, so no panic mode that. But if we start to do something like this with Bitcoin over the next couple of weeks, like, don't take that lightly. That's a pretty big warning. But for any coin, if you're under the 21 week, you can't have a lot of high hopes, right? Your big moves don't tend to happen until you're above that, right? Not really. Now, start of bull runs will be the exception, and you can find this on many things, right? When Bitcoin's, you know, nuking out, getting out of the bear market, right? Here's the kind of the exception. We had some decent sized moves, but even then, close above it, initial move, came back down, higher low, get back above it, right? This is when you can really start to gain a lot of traction. So that's what we're looking to do again. Just start to put in higher highs. Checkpoint 1, the 21 week, checkpoint 2, around the 12-cent mark, and then climb up the Fibonacci ladder there. Your 200 week is still way the hell up here. 30 cents. All right. How much capital do you need to do this full time? Well, I think that's not the right question. You can start with little money. It's how much education you have in charting. If you can't turn $100 into $1,000, you're not going to turn 10,000 into 100,000, right? Does that make sense? Practice on paper. Treat it like real money. That'd be my advice. Read a couple textbooks. That would be better advice. You can do the CMT courses like I did. They're not that much, but you can do it at, locally. Even if you're anywhere in the world, you can do that. CMT, Chartered Market Technician, you can look that up if you want. That would be my advice instead of trying to do this full time, right? Okay, do that first, and then try to turn $100 into $500. Start with that. If you can do that, move on to bigger and better. My silly dog came in the office. Hang on. Take his collar off. All right. All right, he's untangled now. Get it. Okay. TRON. That's a good one. Right at the top. And remember my color coding charts, right? TRON is, I only have 10 of these out of like a couple hundred that I track. There's only about 10 that are blue. This would be one. Why? Well, look at the damn chart. This is the weekly chart. Did it look like the last weekly chart we just looked at? Or does this look slightly different? Where's the trend? Does it look really good? Yes, the answer is yes. Holy hell. There's not many charts in crypto that have something that looks that good. That's impressive, right? And I look at like the mini fractal here. See that little bowl? Look at this. It looks like the smaller version of this guy, right? See that? Like 4 or 5 years to do that, and now look at the same thing here. Right? These are all great formations. So now where are we looking? Well, obviously we'd like to hold the EMA 8, right? Look back here. If you hold the EMA 8, you can keep on going. The red line. If you start to break below that, you're probably going to hit the 21. Certainly if you close 2 candles, but usually like within that second or third candle, you're already going to be there. Because when you break that, it's just a momentum killer, right? It's like brake checking somebody. Not really prepared for it. So if we close under the EMA 8, and it's an if, it's a big if because you always got to have context of what kind of chart you're looking at. It's a blue chart. It's one of the strongest, right? We just showed you why. So you want to give the benefit of the doubt to the trend continuing for the strongest coins, certainly the strongest charts. That's this guy. Look at the weekly Gaussian channel. I mean, it's doing better than Bitcoin is compared to the Gaussian channel. If your coin's doing better than Bitcoin, you're in the right coins, right? That's pretty simple. Let's actually just look at this. Let's look at TRON versus Bitcoin. Just see how that looks. I bet it's pretty good. If we can get TradingView to update. Let's put it on a monthly chart. Actually, a little bit more troublesome than I would have thought, right? As good as that USD valuation, but still pretty much a general uptrend here. And this actually looks like it's wanting to go against Bitcoin, which is another promising sign for some kind of alt season. If we can get that towards the later half of Q4, this looks great. Look at it. It's at for the what? 10th week. It's testing. It's knocking on the door sooner or later, right? Higher lows. This looks like it's ready to go against Bitcoin again. Look at this zone. You can take that straight back all the way to 2018. I would expect, if you get another break of this, I would expect a big move Now it might be short-lived like these wicks. So don't sleep on that. Especially if we come out of here, or maybe Bitcoin dominance comes back again, and TRON goes down another 5 or 6% against Bitcoin, backtest that. But then we come up here again and rip. You probably want to be taking profits back to Bitcoin or stables. Like if we get up in these range high wicks, right? Look at that. Range high wick, range high wick, range high wick, maybe a little bit. But I would expect to maybe hit up in this area, which from current prices, I mean, that's a pretty decent move against Bitcoin. You can buy 50% more Bitcoin if we get up in here again. Think of that, right? These are like the profound things it just takes some time being in this market to realize that's a lot. Be able to buy 50% more Bitcoin without doing anything but just trading over to Bitcoin. You don't have to always take profits to USD or Tether. What's the other one? USDC, Coinbase. You can just go from your coins over to Bitcoin, and from Bitcoin over to coins. Increase your Bitcoin stack. That should be your ultimate goal, right? So that's that on TRON. That's a good request. I mean, it looks. What's not to like here? I think that would be, pretty much. I don't know if we can even get that low. That's the monthly chart, right? Looking at the monthly chart, the weekly chart. Last time we hit the EMA 8, we went just below. It actually went off the 14, right? That's the purple line. You want to look and see if it's ever done that before. Well, we did back here before making a super move. That's a hell of a move. That's 50% from low wick to high wick with not closing below the 21. All right, that's a good request. I like that one. Sorry if I got to keep drinking water. Like the more I talk, the more cotton mouth I get. Pendle. I knew I'd get it at some point. I've been seeing your comments, Praneet, about Pendle, but YouTube algorithm won't let me do anything with Chainlink anymore, so that's why I started live stream so I could do more coins for y'all. So we're going to continue YouTube, just kind of Chainlink, and then we'll continue these for your requests. Pendle. Another pretty strong coin here. Let's start off on the monthly. So the 1618, way the hell up here. I still think we have a chance to hit this because of the chart looks pretty damn good. That's still another 4x. And back here, it looks so terrific. Back late last year, and then it looked like we were breaking out here. Just unfortunate that we did a full retrace back to low wicks again. So I picked some of this up back down in here on the way down, around $3. So far, that's working out pretty well. I still have high hopes, at least for range high wicks again. I mean, we just did that last month. We had a high of 628. Pretty impressive. Going to the weekly now, right? Look at the structure. Range low, high, higher, much higher low, off the 100 week. New high right after that, perfect. Back test the 21 EMA, held perfect. These are the signs that you're getting ready to make better moves, right? I mean, look back here. Anytime the trend remains, it's back testing either the 8 or the 21, holds it, and then we come back down. Okay, now it's time for caution. And then usually it's not as easy. It's like, I'll get out here if we go under and close under. That's usually a big close, right? And it's just bad timing. I mean, every damn time for Pendle. It's like it gets close to the 21 and then just gives up. Close to the 21 and rejected off the 21, a bigger move. So if we get back under there again at this stage, because we've gone back up here, right, that would be worrisome. That would be like a lot of momentum loss. But look at the fib here, right? We've kind of blasted through the 786 like it was like not really even there. Got above it here. Hold this line right here, right? If you're looking to get more, I think this is a pretty good spot as long as you're willing to kind of cut down here. If you go back under 4, that would be troublesome if you take out that low. So you always want to be looking at stop losses, like where are you wrong? Well, that's where Pendle loses momentum there. So if you want to buy, like buying now with your risk tolerance like 18 to 20% lower, that's kind of a lot, right? But that sometimes you just gotta, with as volatile as this can be, right? You're trading with the trend, right? If you're going long, right? So that's good. Your entire macro structure on the monthly, and you know, zoom out, is up. This is like long bullish consolidation to me, and it looks like it really wants to go again. So once we start to close, you know, anywhere in that area, look at the wick, right? Just below these high wicks. All right, so $6, we start to see that again. If we can get up there and close, maybe just 2 candles above 6 would be, you know, a big push. That would be like the 4th, 5th time ever. That could be significant. Now, sadly, last week did not go real well. But if you're looking to buy some more Pendle on a discount, conveniently, it's 21% off for you this week. That's how you got to look at it sometimes. All right, so that's where we are. Right, the ebbs and flows looks good. Really terrific, actually. If it goes a little bit higher, if it gets back above, you know, 786, I'd probably throw this in the blue chart. All righty, keep it going. Last cycle tops will be the lows of the next bear. Yeah, I agree. Like 60 to 70K is kind of what I'm thinking. Much less severe in the bear market because we've had kind of an underwhelming bull cycle. Now, I think I might. That's even if we went to like 150, I think I'd probably still hold the line right there. Probably a little more towards 70K, but you know, if Q4 turns out to be pretty good, historically, like if we go back to like 2017, 2021, the prior to run-ups, September's always been, August, September's been always a kind of a drawdown after a local high. Each time. I put that on X a couple days ago and in the groups. This is no different, right? Bitcoin could still surprise all, and we could still easily have an alt season, and I'm expecting it within, it might take till mid-October, right? It depends on what Bitcoin is going to decide to do. If it's going to lollygag around the 21 week for a couple more weeks, then later October. But things could change quickly during these stages, so don't get caught off guard here. Okay. Oh, we had 2 Pendle requests. Nice. Elcoin. Haven't heard that one in a while. Okay, last time we looked at it, it was green chart. Let's make sure we're still green. Pull it up here. Up 7% today. That's pretty good. Okay, we're above the 100 and 200 week. That's a good start. Our Fibonacci from earlier in 2 Januaries ago is still pretty good. Look at this. Look how, if your coins are reacting textbook to Fibonacci's, you want to be paying attention to those levels. I mean, the wick is literally right on it. Low wick here, high wick to the 618. The next high wick came down and put right at the 0.5 fib. Right, this is, you want to be getting this fib on your chart if you're big into this coin. Right, this is a good one to have. So gain more traction around the 0.5 fib always, right? You can see the range highs. We only spent a fleeting amount of time there. Range lows back here, flip to new range highs, the 618. 786 is going to be the next level, right? That's a decent sized jump, right? That's over 2x just from one fib to the next. From current prices, we're looking at, let me see if I can get a little bit more accurate here. So we have 50% to get back to the 0.5, 150 to the 618. That's a pretty nice move, right? Over a 5x to get to the 786 here, back to, you know, all-time highs. I like it. Right, it's doing what it should do. Right, it's kind of rounded. Getting like these real rounded bottoms here. Putting in, you know, your finally initial breakout high above the 200. Came back down, held the low. Came back up immediately. Put in a higher high. Good. Much higher low. Higher high again. Okay, now we've kind of lost some momentum, right? Because you just took out the low. You took out the 200. So we've fallen off the bike. We've skinned our knee a little bit. It's all right. We're back on it. Took out the high again. Okay, we're doing okay. We just need to keep pedaling. Otherwise, lose momentum again. This is kind of the cut spot, I guess we probably talked about last time. I would assume it was either during this drawdown or maybe this drawdown. I don't know. It's been a while since we've talked about this one. But good request. It's a decent coin. And I would definitely be watching. I say decent coin, but I mean decent chart, right? Okay, so hopefully that helps a little bit. We're trying to loosely hold these previous range highs to range lows. That's a decent sign, right? If you take out that low again, though, trouble starts. That's not too much lower. Yeah, it's 36%. Want to break this little bit of a downtrend here. Right, extend this over. We don't want to keep this pattern. That'd be like a descending triangle. Those are not good. Right, if you keep forming these flats and then coming back lower high, lower high. Right, you don't want to do that. So let's break out of that. Hold this as a low, and then start to build off of that. Right, just like we did back on the macro 2023, 2024. All right, let's tell coin. Still a green chart. I like it. Pretty good. Better than most. All right, let's keep it going. XRP. Thoughts on the Dino XRP? Let's see. I have it up here somewhere. And guess what else is a blue chart? XRP. All right, let's look at the monthly. We have a couple Fibonacci's here. Whoops. I mean, look at this. Above like pretty much all time, going back to like 2017. Wick highs. Closed from last cycle, March and May of 2021. It never got back around for the peak in later 2021, right? Not really. But this cycle, look at it's not only hit to the 1618 already, which very few coins have from even their their highs back in over the last 18 months or so. Almost no coin has done this. But we're actually kind of flipped the 1618 to support, which is insanely bullish, right? And look, not only that, but if you put on closing prices, we haven't even sniffed it closing under the EMA 8 on the monthly. Very impressive. $4. We've gotten pretty damn close. At 366 a couple weeks ago, months ago. You can see the 1618 from our 2021 high. I don't know if we got enough gas in the tank for that, but perhaps. I mean, we know XRP can do insane moves. So from current prices, we have almost 40% to the 2618 at 4. Then still over 2x, 2.5x away almost to get to 650 area. I mean, it looks pretty good, right? From this perspective, what's not to like? The only thing, well, I know what's not to like. This section where it's just like years before it does anything else again, right? That's what we want to avoid. We don't want to see this, or down in here, right? We don't want to see this until 2 years from now, right? We'd like to not do that, but that still wouldn't be that bad, right? If we only go back down here, see what that move is, maybe, if I can get the right button going. So if Bitcoin's going to go down, 50, 60%, perhaps XRP even holds around $1 or higher, right? Psychological dollar level, 618 down here, maybe. So imagine like this base becomes this base. And then the next bull cycle, we start from, 150 instead of, holy hell, 30 cents. That would go well. Then you could see what these numbers are. But these are silly market caps, folks. But not that I can't do it. But this cycle, like I think you got to be aggressively taking profits, even with a wick anywhere in that area, 4 to 650. Like, don't be silly, right? You don't want to get trapped again in this zone for eternity. Let's call this the genie, like Aladdin, just stuck in the lamp for generations. All right, but I mean, it looks good, right? It is a blue chart. It's one of the better ones. All right, bio. Do a couple more here. Not too many people on, only 10 of you. Maybe Fridays aren't the best. Maybe we'll try Thursday next time. Maybe I'll run a poll on X or my Telegram groups to see what days would work best. Okay, so here's the monthly. Obviously, we don't have much to go on. Structure's okay here. 21 week. You know, at this point of the cycle, right? There's the clear flip level there, and I would keep that 21 intact. Right, maybe even go right there. If you start to come back in here, that's caution. If you come under 10 cents again, that'll be a red flag. Certainly, if you take out these highs, go down to the daily. Okay, the 200s come in, so maybe that's your pivot point, or the 100. I'm fine with that. I think your exit or like run for the hills sign would be if you start closing under there. Take out that low. Just because we spent so much time down here, we could get trapped down here again for maybe the rest of the year or the rest of the cycle. Come back down. So I would put my pivot point kind of right under 10 cents. But other than that, right, looks like some nice moves happening. Right, it's done a 5x over the past several weeks. So maybe you're up. You know, we have breached this 21 EMA. So maybe if you're well into profit, right, if you bought anywhere in here, I might take your initial investment off and then just leave the profit in the run just in case. That's, you know, I tend to do that time to time. Certainly on these strong moves like that happen quickly. You want to capitalize on that and not just ride it all the way back down just in case. All right, not much else I can do. We don't have a whole lot of history on that. All right, we'll do a few more minutes. My prior video, I mentioned Pendle to $70. Bro, what? Okay, now I have to go look. $70? You mean 7? I gotta see my Pendle $70. The 2618, maybe we're looking at that. No, I don't think we're gonna hit 70 this cycle, right? Maybe if we're already at 20 or something. Yeah, I mean that's still a 16x here. Here's January 2026 right here, right where we don't have the time for that. I think this would be lucky enough. Okay, so good question. Out of interest, do you purely look at charts or research fundamentals? Well, both, but I primarily focus on charts because if it has good fundamentals, the chart's going to be good, right? Usually. You want to be investing in charts that are strong and can make money. Who cares about the fundamentals if it doesn't go anywhere? Right? Does that make sense? So I tend to put much more focus on charts, and that's why I rate the charts. Right? I don't care if your fundamentals are greatest in the world. If your coin looks like, wish I could find a terrible looking chart. I think I deleted all my pink charts because I didn't want to cover them anymore. Let's look at like tether dominance, right? If your chart is on the weekly and it just looks like that, but your fundamentals are great, like who cares? Your coins have got to be able to pay you, unless you're just in it for the tech, right? We're all here to make money. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, EGLD. I'll do your request too. Maybe we could have started with this chart. It was a red last time. Let's see if it's still red. Let's zoom out to the monthly. Yeah, this is not great looking, right? But the fundamentals are there, right? Here's your, I mean, look at the clear pivot point there. From the bear market, we went right back in the really a year in the bull run. We hit the same damn level. Once, twice, 3 times. Rejection again, and we haven't closed above the 21-month this entire cycle, other than the initial move. So this is pretty weak. Down 97% from highs. From the start of the cycle, right, we've lost money. Right? This is not, that's not what you want to be in, right? You're down 70% from the start of the run. I mean, maybe if you bought back here, you're doing okay, but not really, right? Even if you bought the nut bottom back here, the absolute low, you're only up just over 2x. And that's if you timed it absolutely perfect. So probably not, right? So this is actually a pretty good point to why focusing on charts first, and then let's fundamentals be great, right? These aren't stocks. These are tools to make money, right? We're not investing in a long-term, you know, maybe you are, right? You know, big coins like, you know, Ethereum, Chainlink, obviously Bitcoin. Great. Did it pay? Does it pay you though? Have you made money? Got great fundamentals. You're down 70% from the start of the bull run, right? So this is a good example actually of why I focus on charts, right? Yeah, I mean, look at we haven't even been able to get above the 21 week, right? So that's what we want to look for. A sign of good things coming, right? Is if you start closing above the 21 week. Last rally closed above the 21 week, increased. Look at that move, right? These are pretty strong bars when they go. That's 60% bar. Okay, do it again. So we're trying to do this right now. We're trying to round this bottom out. But that's the line there. But we're putting in like new lows, not seeing this entire cycle. We've continued to do that since February. Cycle low, new cycle low a couple weeks later, cycle low, lower low. The odds are this continues. Let's look at one more thing. Let's look at if we can really do it, but let's look at a fib retrace extension. The 1618 right down here at $10. Maybe that's where we're going. And even if you say, okay, we're going to take this one, like it's not going to be much different. $11, and maybe we've already hit it. So look at that. We're trying to bottom here. So that's our last local high here. Maybe the bottom's in, but we got to prove it, right? We got to put in a higher low at some point, and then take a higher high, and then we'll be in an uptrend. But you have to have both those check marks, and then you can start doing your Fibonacci extensions to look like where the hell could be a good spot to get out at. Okay, let's if the low is in, well, 25 is probably a good spot to start gaining traction for momentum. Not only that, but if your fibs start to line up with, you know, previous range lows or range highs, that's a good spot. So here's our resistance as we move back in. If we flip this to support, that's when we'll start to get those bigger moves again. Very likely. All right. All right. These are the questions I like. Best sports car around for 100K. Is this new or used? Used opens a lot more doors. For 100K, I'd probably take a Viper, Dodge Viper. Think about 100K. Maybe a used Skyline GTR. I think you can get both of those for just under. Oh, new. Okay, now we're in trouble. New 100K, probably a Corvette. I think you can still get those for under 100K. racking my brain. Oh, or you know, a ludicrous performance or you know, plaid Model S. I mean, that's 1100 horsepower for 100K. I don't know how you can beat that. That's probably the choice. All right, Corvette or Model S. Go look at Giga. We'll wrap it up with Giga. Now, memes in general, I've always said this, right? Memes you're holding for end of cycles. They have their best moves, sometimes even in the last weeks. Now, Giga's only at $100 million market cap right now. That's low. That's almost a micro cap, right under 100 mil. Those could add, if that just adds $1 billion, you think, oh, $1 billion is not going to happen. The Trump coin launched at 7 billion overnight. No one knew about it. 7 billion. If we just throw 1 billion into Giga, like if someone big tweets about it, maybe rhymes with Tusk, $1 billion puts us at all-time highs immediately, like a teleportation. So it fell pretty quick, but it can rise pretty quick, really quick. So meme coins are for holding for end of cycles. Now, we're at range lows here, obviously. There's the low. Right, we're at range lows. Does it mean we're at absolute lows? Who knows? But if we even sniff at an alt season sometime over the next 4 months, we're at least getting, you know, to these previous range lows flipping to range highs again. So that's still only 300 million, 400 million market cap maybe. That's still like a be a disappointment, but that would still, you know, even if you bought anywhere down in here, right, you're in profit. Even if you bought the Pico top, you're still going to be saved a little bit. That's like worst case. Even if we don't even get an alt season, I'm still expecting a move back to here. But as we see, like a loosely formed W pattern, I don't really like to use TA as much on memes because that's not where you're getting them, right? You're getting them for the stupid gains for no rhyme or reason, right? So Giga back to range lows, obviously. The facts are the facts. Rejecting off the 21 week. That's where we are, right? This is not alt season and certainly not meme season. You have to have an alt season if you're going to get a meme season. But we're also not done with the cycle, in my book. I think we're going to go probably to the very end of the year, if not spill into 2026 at this point. Obviously, we don't know uncertain times, but I am expecting a rate cut by Jerome Powell September 17th, 12 days from now. And not only do I think we'll get a quarter basis point cut, but I think there's a decent chance we get something kind of relatively historical and go more than that, which would certainly be maybe a fire starter for not only memes, but altcoins, everything. Bitcoin too. So we'll see how that goes. Next, it's 12 days, September 17th. All right, so I'll kind of wrap it up there. Hopefully that helps you. Still a big fan of Giga. I haven't sold any of my Giga. I've had Giga since 2024. Sold none of it. Retrospect, maybe we should have taken some out of here. But again, like I hold memes for the end of cycle. I don't care, right? Any money I put in, it's for the end. I'm looking for parabolic blow-off moves. Whether that be up to here again, probably got to take some out there. Something. Certainly if you bought under that, right? Just secure a little bit, just in case. But we'll see how it goes. Again, like the market cap matters. Thinking that a market cap of $30 billion is gonna, you know, recapture range highs instantly is not gonna happen. But saying we can't do 700% in the final weeks for a $100 million cap, right? Easily doable, right? Remember Doge, Shiba Inu, those guys added billions in the final weeks, if not days. Billions, like I'm talking about like one or two, like 40 billion. Like XRP in the final month, last cycle, $40 billion in 1 month. 1 month. Wonky. All right. Everyone left. I'm talking to myself now. I'll see you on the next one. Join Telegram if you want requests every day. I do stuff in there anytime you want it. Anytime you want it. Alrighty. I'll see you. Let's see. What's it going to be? Tuesday? I think Tuesday. maybe we'll stick to Tuesday, Thursday, since Friday didn't work out. I thought maybe Friday would be better. Not so much.